Thank you all for being here today. Just a little bit early for our 11:15 start time, so we're going to give credit for that this week. I will try to be brief. I know it's a holiday week and people have a lot to do. So as normal, I'm going to make a few announcements from the administration, make sure there's some things on your radar that we want to make sure our local media is aware of, and then we'll take a few questions. Trey's going to be leading the room today, so Trey Caruso, ladies and gentlemen. Real quickly, before I get started, I'll go over our protocols, as I always do, to make sure folks at home have an awareness of what we're doing here. Prior to coming into the room, everybody in the media was temperature tested at the door. Our media partners in the room are wearing masks and maintaining social distance. Right now, I am going to take my mask off so that those that read lips are better able to follow, and so that I'm a little bit less muffled for the mic. All right, thank you all. So, we'll begin as we always do with an update on the COVID situation. As of yesterday, there were 14,980 cases in Orleans and 606 deaths reported. We're averaging around 75 new cases every day. Positivity rate is at 1.8% right now. We do want to make sure that everybody's continuing to go out and get tested. However, it's important to note right now, testing will not be available on Thursday and Friday due to the holiday. So there is testing today and then Saturday and on into next week. But be aware that testing will not be available on Thursday and Friday of this week. There are continuing to be drive-through tests available. Those are going to be at Mahalia Jackson, UNO, and the Ilario Center. That's today and tomorrow from 8 till 4 and Saturday from 8 till 2. Drive-through testing at the Living School today and tomorrow from 1 to 5. Walk-up testing at First Evangelist Baptist Church. That's today and tomorrow, 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. St. Paul's Baptist Church, also walk-up testing today and Saturday from 11 till 6. And testing at the Viet Community Center today from 9 to 1 p.m. Again, we do want to emphasize that they're not going to be available Thursday and Friday, but we do want to make sure that everyone that needs a test continues to get one. These are free, they're no cost at all. You can drive through, walk up. There's multiple options available, and we encourage people to take advantage of that. We did see lower gathering numbers last weekend. We have 46 large gathering reports into 311. That's down from 54 last week. We had 117 business non-compliance reports last weekend. So we do thank our residents for that and our businesses. We ask you to keep it up. As we move into the holiday season, this week with Thanksgiving particularly, we encourage everyone, please do not let your guard down. As much as we may wish things were back to normal this year, they're not yet. We're not there yet. COVID is not taking the holiday off, so we can't afford to let our guard down. If you do gather with your family and friends over the holidays, we ask that everyone please be mindful of all the guidelines that are in place. Wash your hands, wear your mask, maintain social distance. Wherever possible, we're asking people to limit gatherings to just your household. It's hard, it's not what we're used to, it's not fun, but it is what we need to do to continue to keep things safe. As we're looking ahead to the rest of the holiday season, as we settle along, what happens next depends on what we do right now. And that means if you want Christmas to not be a sad one, hopefully, for your family and for your loved ones, you're safe during Thanksgiving. So please, please, please maintain that social distance and celebrate only with your immediate household. A couple more items. Thanksgiving safety tips. Chief Roman Nelson wanted me to make sure I announce this week. They did some announcements last week and they continue to push on social, but please be aware on behalf of the fire department and our public safety officials, as you are celebrating Thanksgiving this year or any year, please do so as safely as possible. Thanksgiving can often be one of the most dangerous days in the year in terms of fire incidents for a lot of obvious reasons. The tips are ones that you would expect in terms of common sense, but it's worth repeating. Don't leave pots unattended. Keep oven mitts and towels a safe distance away from open flames, and always have a fire extinguisher available in your apartment or home. For more information on Thanksgiving safety tips from the fire department, you can go to nola.gov/NOFD/safety. Also a good time to remember, the NOFD has a free smoke alarm installation program. If you need a smoke alarm in your home, you can get one for free by calling 658-4714, or you can go to nola.gov/NOFD. A couple more quick updates and then we'll move on to questions. Mayor Cantrell yesterday participated in a call with President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris. They discussed a number of matters that was on C-SPAN, so I believe that footage is still out there for those that want to follow up. It was a very productive call. They spoke specifically about the need for direct funding for cities and specifically for infrastructure funding going forward. So we anticipate a productive relationship, and we'll be continuing to advocate for New Orleans needs at that federal level going forward. On the millages, early voting continues through Saturday. Election day is next Saturday, December the 5th. On the ballot, Proposition 1 for infrastructure, Proposition 2 for early childhood education in the libraries, Proposition 3 for affordable housing and economic development. Now, you've seen a lot of information out there from the city in terms of what these various propositions do. Specifically, we want to remind people, Proposition 2 for libraries and early childhood education will provide young children in New Orleans with affordable, high-quality early childhood education for the next 20 years, and would do so without raising your taxes. Over a 20-year period, it would fund 2,000 child care seats. Once passed, New Orleans would be positioned to be the first local community in Louisiana to access state matching dollars through the Louisiana Early Childhood Education Fund. The reason that this is on the ballot now, that we're talking about it right now, we just got through a big election. I know people are a little worn out, but it's important to move on this now, given where we are in the pandemic. Shifting these dollars now will free up resources to help us recover from COVID more quickly and stand up the social and economic resources that our children and young families need. Let's see if I got anything else before we move on to questions. I think that's it for my announcements. So Trey, you want to lead us through?
Yeah. Lori, WDSU?
Yeah, so I have 3 random questions we can do this over. But first, I know New Orleans went into like a COVID-19 threat level red last week. I believe we're still in that. Should people expect any change in restrictions? Is that something you all are talking about?
Not today. I will say I'm not trying to be a smart aleck with you, but for right now, the health department and the mayor continue to monitor where we are. Those numbers were concerning last week, and we're making sure that they're not continuing to rise. I think you could anticipate additional announcements following the holiday, but for right now, in the next 24, 48 hours, I don't anticipate additional announcements from the city. That said, I know Governor Edwards is going to be addressing media later today, and we'll see what they do at the state level. He'll be on at 2:30. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I know you talk each week when we do these about like non-compliance reports and large gathering reports. I think sometimes people hear those numbers, but they don't necessarily hear what the repercussions are.
Sure.
Or can you just talk about, I guess, for the people at home, what are the consequences when they're getting these reports? I know a few businesses have been shut down temporarily.
Yeah, it tends to vary a little bit. We at every stage have gone, we don't want to be draconian about this, and we're not trying to be a hindrance to business, right? Because businesses, just like everybody else, are struggling to get through this pandemic, and we appreciate that, we understand that. However, because of the public health risks associated with large gatherings, we do have to go in there and intervene. That said, we try to do it with a discreet and deliberate touch, try to be intentional about that. That means Winston and his team will go out very, very frequently when we hear about these, it amounts to a verbal warning. Where Winston and his team will come out and say, hey, you got too many people, you're not doing this right. And more often than not, the businesses do willfully comply, right? So they get on board, they make the change that's needed, and then they're able to move forward. There have been a few instances, as you cited, where we've had to shut people down. Once they bring themselves into alignment with the proper health protocols, they're allowed to reopen. So it's not a matter of trying to just bring the hammer down and shut people down willy-nilly. It's really just trying very hard to bring everybody in line with these public safety guidelines that are just there to keep people safe. And our businesses, our business owners, are residents as well, and they appreciate that, they understand that. As I said, by and large, Winston and his team are seeing compliance once they intervene. That said, when you see people behaving irresponsibly, we do encourage folks to continue reporting that to 311 so that our folks can get out there and determine what's going on.
Just final question, non-COVID related. Greater New Orleans Housing Authority had a press conference this morning. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, talking about unfair property tax assessments by the assessor's office. Does the city have any comment on that?
Not having seen a press conference, I couldn't speak to specifically what they said. That being said, I would say the assessor is an independent elected official, and I would direct your questions to his office.
Thank you.
Yep.
On the heels of business compliance, we've been through this for 9 months now. Why do you believe businesses are still not following these rules?
Well, as I said, I think by and large we are seeing compliance. On the whole, we're seeing more compliance than not. And as you just noted, we've all been here for 9 months. This is hard, it's exhausting, and we appreciate the stress that it puts on our residents and our businesses. And it's not something that anybody's doing for fun. It is absolutely critical that we continue to be vigilant. As we saw, we just started to see the numbers tick up in the last couple of weeks, where Orleans is starting to see numbers comparable to the rest of the state, the rest of the country. So it's not going away. I think maybe there's some fatigue on the level of business owners, and also, frankly, people want to get back to normal. They want to feel like this is getting okay. And we do have a light at the end of the tunnel, right? There's been multiple, I think there's now 3 vaccines that are over 90% effectiveness. So we're getting there, but it's a matter of making sure that between now and then, we don't take our eye off the ball. So I couldn't speak to why individual businesses are making the decisions that they are, but I will say largely we are seeing that compliance. We're grateful to our residents and businesses for leading in that way. As I've said multiple times from this podium, New Orleans bent the curve and stopped the spread and bent the curve twice. See, I've been saying it too often. But at its core, we continue to need that buy-in. It hasn't gone away, and we need everybody to stay vigilant.
Do you know if there are any plans to keep National Guard members stationed at these testing sites?
I don't know where we are on that right now. But if you maybe circle back to us later in the day, I can try and get that information for you.
Kenny,
Yeah. You
No,
go.
no, go.
You go.
No, you're fine.
You're next in line. You go.
This may be thinking too far ahead, but
Yeah.
let's just say the vaccines come out tomorrow. I know. Does the city have an exit strategy, or does it just say, okay, everything's back to normal? Is there?
Well, yeah, so
period?
there's kind of a lot there. And without going too far in the hypothetical, I will say that the health department is working closely with the state so that when we do have a vaccine, that there's a plan in place to deploy it effectively. I think last month, October 23rd, if I don't miss my guess, we initially had an early exercise where we're giving out free flu shots, and that had a double impact. On the one hand, we were getting flu shots into the community, which was important and needed, but it also started to give our folks some practice and some mechanism in how we do wide-scale vaccine distribution. So that's not going to be like flipping a switch. It's going to be a process, but we're working very closely with the state and with the health department to make sure that happens in an orderly way. Once we get a vaccine, once we have a timeline, we'll be able to provide you more details on that. In terms of an overall exit strategy, we all want things to get back to normal, right? But I think as we have been all along, we're going to be guided by the data, not the date, and that means once we get the vaccine, once we understand what the distribution is going to look like, how long it's going to take, it's going to be a process. It's not going to be, black and white. But as soon as we get there, and as soon as we have more details, we're certainly going to share those with the media and with our residents.
Kenny.
Yeah. In regards to COVID and Thanksgiving, there are several urgent cares around the city with long lines. So we're wondering, is this because people are getting tested so they can spend Thanksgiving with grandma, or is COVID spreading so much in the community that more people are getting tested because they're afraid that they may have it? What are your thoughts on this?
Sure. Well, without getting too speculative, I would say we want people to continue getting tested, holidays or no holidays. That testing information is critical. It helps state, local, and federal health advisors make the right decisions and understand what they're seeing. That's the data that is driving all the conversations. Is what are the testing numbers? What are the testing results? So it's important that people continue to do that. That said, I think the CDC has been very clear on asking people only celebrate the holiday this year with your immediate household group. Because when people travel, when people are cross-pollinating households, you get additional potential danger for further spread of fatal infection. So our messaging and our guidance would be please celebrate small, celebrate at home with your family this year, and then let's position all of us for a healthier and a more normal Thanksgiving next year.
I have a follow-up to that, but isn't the health department is recommending that if you have symptoms to go and get tested, but if you're going to Thanksgiving dinner or you're going to travel,
Yeah.
are they still recommending that
the
you?
recommendation is that you don't travel, and the recommendation is that when you're going to dinner at your house with your household. That's the safest way to do this, and that's really what we're encouraging people to do. Regardless, that said, if people do absolutely have to travel and they're going to be in a larger group in their household, it's critical that they get tested at every stage. As we know, however, a negative test does not make you invincible, right? You could test negative and 20 minutes later get exposed and take that to grandma. So that's why it's very important that people not let their guard down and to go into this holiday season very, very cautious and very aware that we are still in a public health emergency. Okay?
Very good. Point of clarification, the averaging positive cases. What's the numbers?
So I've got 75 new cases a day, and the positivity rate is 1.8%.
Is it down from last week?
I don't have that number in front of me, but we can check as soon as we work at it. Okay, great. Anybody, anything else? All right, one thing, just real quickly, I'll put on all your radars. CEO Gilbert Montano is going to be available to speak additionally on the villages. If any of you want to arrange some camera time with him for that, speak to Trey right after this, and he can set you up. Okay? Thanks a lot, everybody. And if I don't see you again, I hope I don't see you in the next couple of days. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too.